very complex process. To us, who converse every day, and to everyone else, it might seem really, really simple. But if you really boil down to the really minute details, you'll discover that it's a really complex process. Have anyone out there ever played this little game called Chinese Whispers?
No.
No?
Transferring information.
Yes. Transferring info. It's this little game where you have to like form a row, and then the first person would get a little message, and then your objective is to transfer this little message to the end. And I've played that little game many times, and each time the last person always gets the wrong message. Of course, this little sentence is really long, like I climbed Bukit Timah Hill in 489 minutes and walked 365 feet and all that. At the end of the line, normally the message gets a bit garbled and wrong. Well, in order to actually have a very good conversation skill, you can actually use several little techniques. Of course, the most important thing about this skill is that we're able to use this conversation skill in whatever we do, be it business, everyday life, when we talk to our family members, when we talk to your sons-to-be, or to your parents and all that. One of the most important skills that you need in order to have a good conversation is to be sensitive to the other person's needs. The real reason for having a conversation is you actually want to learn something interesting about the other person. It's not entirely all about you, and you alone. It's all about them, and them. Having a good, or being able to converse properly or have a good conversation with someone else is a learnable skill. It's really learnable. All you need to do is practice daily in whatever situation you might be in. Whether you walk out now, you meet the security guard out there, strike up a conversation, or while you're waiting for your bus, strike up with a conversation with that auntie that you always wanted to talk to, or the little uncle, This little process of communication scientifically, it covers a very simple process. First, you have the message. Did I spell it right? Sorry, language evaluator. Message. First, you have the message which you want to send. Then, it gets decoded, and then it gets encoded, and thereafter the message is received. This is scientifically speaking. That's why I say having a good conversation is really tough. The process is sort of like the tide flowing in and out. To be able to have a good conversation, it's like the tide flowing in and out. You have to be able to let out information and then wait a while and receive back the information. It's sort of like having a little ball that you pass along, like in basketball. You pass the ball to someone else receives it, thinks for a little bit, passes it on to someone else, thinks for a little bit, passes it on to someone else. But of course, this thinking process, it's all about thinking about what you need to talk to the other person about. Techniques. You need to show genuine interest in order to keep this conversation flowing and to make the other party feel comfortable. One way of having a good conversation or starting a new conversation is to be able to state the reason for conversation. For example, if you meet somebody for the first time at a party or at an event or something, you could say, "Hi, I'm new to this area and I want to get to know more people." Or you could say, "Hey, I heard I'm really into a nuclear physicist or nuclear physics, and I heard you're an expert in this area." Or you can be upfront and say, "I like you and want to get to know you better." Or you could tell them that I'm studying people and I really want to know who you are as a person. Or you could also tell them, "Hey, I always see you around here and I was just wondering who you are." Simple little methods like this. Well, if they say no, or like for example, you said, "Hey, I'm interested in nuclear physics and I heard you're an expert." If the person turns around and says, "No, I'm not an expert. In fact, I studied mass communication or something," then you could switch it to something else, like, "Oh yeah, anyway, I'm new here and I want to get to know more people." If they said, "Well, I don't want to know you. Then you can either back off or start off with another new topic. Another way of having a good conversation is to listen actively and attentively to what the other person has to say. Now, all of us were born with 2 ears and 1 mouth, yes? So I think we should use them in the same proportion as well. Listen more and speak less. That's how you can have a good two-way conversation. Conversation has to be two ways and not one way. Otherwise, it could be like a TV station broadcasting a show. It's just one way, and there's no feedback and all that. Being able to listen carefully also is sort of like, I think a lot of people sometimes don't end up listening and ends up just having a one-way conversation. For example, like now when I'm having a one-way conversation with you, it's sort of like a little, liken it to like a little boxer, just waiting for a little outlet, you know, so, waiting for them to let their guard down so that they can throw in a verbal punch in and shoot at the other person. Now that's not listening. Listening is when you actually hold your gaze straight at the person and really listen to what you have to say and take it all in, and not just listen. What your mind is sort of thinking, okay, how can I reply him? How can I retort to what he has to say? That's not listening. That is not listening. And also, what you can do is you can always nod and smile and always agree to what he's saying when you're talking. Like what you guys are doing now, you're giving me, what do you call it? Non-verbal and assurance, non-verbal communication, which is really good. Another way of sort of making sure that you are telling the other person that I'm listening to you is to paraphrase and clarify. Now then, I shall move on to having a role play with someone in the audience whom I've selected. Can I have a volunteer, please? How about you, Jeffrey? Thank you.